The majority of us despise commuting. Whether we struggle to stay awake in never ending traffic or endure exorbitant fees for delayed trains and buses, it's far from enjoyable. Commuting has become a necessary evil in our modern lives. However, there are certain journeys that truly push the boundaries, making our own commutes pale in comparison to these unbelievably outrageous trips. Number 10. Barcelona to London. The expense of living in London is extreme. We've heard of many stories of people circumventing this expense with innovative methods, but one of the most prolific and famous is Sam Coney, who calculated the 530 hours round trip. Over 90 miles from Barcelona to London would cost significantly less than living in the capital. He actually saves €387 a month. Fortunately, he only does these 4 or 5 times a month whilst either working at home or in shared accommodation for the remainder of his time in London. But that's all factored into his calculations, and he now enjoys a fine two-bed roof terrace flat in Barcelona's beautiful Gothic corridor. Number 9. Flying your own personal jet to work. If you ask someone how long their commute is, and they replied 770 miles, you might think they were a superhero or something. Is it a bird? Is it a plane? No, it's Kurt von Budinski, a mechanical engineer and co-founder of a San Francisco-based tech company. Whilst he isn't quite Superman, Kurt does indeed partly fly to work from LA to San Fran. He pays $2,300 a month for unlimited flights to and from San Francisco, from Canadian Airlines Surf Air, and at least during his 90-minute flight, he can get some work done. Yep, air commuting really is a thing for elite business owners and highly paid professionals. Kurt reports that he justifies his 6-hour commute, which forces him to rise at 5 a.m. and return home no earlier than 9 p.m., by the fact that he can have anything else he wants. And he says he's always excited to start his day fair play. Number 8. Traveling via the water. Many people commute via ferries, but much fewer commute via other forms of water travel. We're told that swimming is an excellent form of exercise. It relaxes you. Exercises your whole body and cools your core temperature. So in light of this, is it really a surprise that given the option, Benjamin David swims down the river Isar in Munich to work? He avoids the traffic along the short 2-kilometer stretch of water, whilst getting invaluable fresh air and exercise, a simple and easy alternative to the norm. Another man reaping the health benefits of his watery commute is Gabriel Ler, who is the head of cataloging at the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C. After making the realization that his commute ran parallel to the Anacostia River, Gabriel made the decision that there must be a better way to travel, and he decided he'd row his boat gently down the Anacostia River whilst merely soaking up the fresh air and exercise, which has helped keep him in superb physical condition at the ripe old age of 71. Number 7. Flying Australian doctor. If you live in remote parts of Australia, then you're not all alone and unassisted medical help is still available, and the doctors dedicated to this cause are some of the most dedicated in the entire profession. True guardian angels, Australia's Commonwealth-funded Royal Flying Doctors are the eyes in the air and boots on the ground when it comes to providing first aid and emergency care to Aboriginal communities, remote farmers, and tourists traveling the outback, and Dr. Lei Kong is one of these coveted doctors, a far cry from your average commute. Dr. Lei Kong flies out from his base out Mount Isa in Queensland from the cockpit of a twin-engine Super King Air 200, accompanied by a pilot and a nurse. Locating patients and landing alongside them are some of the unique challenges involved in this line of work, and Dr. Lei Kong stresses that this form of work is truly unforgiving and dangerous. Pursuing a strong sense of moral duty, this is surely one of the most rewarding forms of a commute. Number 6. Working in a volcano. A volcano is hardly a conventional working location, especially not a highly acidic active volcano, which billows out clouds of superheated steam for 300 men in Java, Indonesia. Though this is a profitable line of work, their task is to break up sulfur from within the volcano and then to manually transport it 3 kilometers uphill to where they get paid working. At dawn, these men try and avoid the inhospitable hot afternoons that make work inside the crater unbearable. Sono, a Javanese man who was part of this crack team of volcanic miners, rides 30 kilometers to the crater, and over a day, he'll carry more than 100 kilos of sulfur several kilometers up and down its rocky side. The job does at least pay more than double your average farming job due to the acidic, hot, and steamy environment, hardly your usual set of occupational hazards. Number 5. La Paz Cable Car Commute. There are many wacky forms of transport in this list, and this cable car adds to the tally as a weird form of commuter transportation used by many in the South American city La Paz. The Bolivian capital is positioned between 3,500 and 4,200 meters above sea level, the highest capital city in the world, and many forms of transport here actually go up even further. An underground system is impossible. The town is too dense for trains in large motorways, and it's already crammed and congested, so La Paz looks to the skies. This awesome cable car carries an estimated 100,000 commuters daily through breathtaking panoramas of the entire city and the surrounding Andean environment. It's Swiss-built, new and shiny, no dangers here, and it actually ranks as one of La Paz's safest forms of transport. More lines of the Mi Teleférico are due to open due to its enormous success. Soon there will be 5 to 7 cable car lines ascending the Andean peaks. Number 4. Unicycling to work. Here's a nice light-hearted and extroverted commute. Benjamin Kiefer unicycles through New York and Midtown Manhattan. He's mastered the art since signing up for circus school in 1990 and reports that he just loves this form of transport. It's more than fair enough from a practical standpoint. Also, he says that the roads are congested, subways are crammed, taxis cost a lot, and simply walking is a bit boring. Donning his suit and tie, he takes to the unicycle, and it's obviously earned him a bit of internet stardom. Number 3. Welshman power glides. 12 miles to work. So if you could choose anything, what would be your ideal method of travel to work? Car, bike, bus, train, power glider. This man from Wales chose the latter option in an extreme bid to avoid traffic and add a bit of excitement to his commute. First, he checks that conditions are clear and the wind speed is below 12 miles per hour, and then gets clearance from the closest RF base before setting off for a half-hour journey. That soars over Welsh hills and valleys from his home in North Wales to the Holyhead boatyard where he works. The power glider is pretty imposing. It uses a 4-stroke engine, and on a clear day it kicks up some noise, and thus he's become well known on the Isle of Angle, say for his James Bond-like daredevil commuter antics. Number 2. Long-haul commutes. What's the average commute duration in Europe? It's 37.5 minutes a day in the UK. It's greater at 57.5 minutes per day, and in the US it's lower at 27 minutes per day. Most surely believe that less commuting is better for us. We already spend enough time at work as it is, but some take the opposite view and willingly subject themselves to very long commutes. The first, and perhaps one of the most extreme, is Malcolm Howe, who traveled 303 kilometers from Brussels to Paris 4 days a week whilst getting the train on the remaining day to try and break up some of that monotony. Working in its security for a major bank, Malcolm was obviously well paid enough to somewhat justify enormous fuel bills, as well as a 208-pound train journey. At one stage, he was paying almost £1,000 a week on trains, pushing the distance 50 kilometers further. Stuart Williams starts his day at 4:45 a.m. to begin his 351 kilometers commute from Lancashire in the north of England to London, using his car, a long-distance train, and the tube. The 6-hour round trip still proves better value than renting in London, and him and his family prefer their life in Lancashire, even despite the fact that he gets home at 9 p.m., barely time to have much of a home life at all. You'd think so. What about traveling just 80 kilometers to work over the course of 5.5 hours? Christopher Grant lives in Port Hadlock in Washington state and has to drive over an hour and a half to a ferry, which then goes across the water to Seattle, where he walks for 30 to 40 minutes to his office crossing land and sea. Chris is driven by a commitment to his church and his rural community, as well as to his wife and family of four to whom he makes every effort to see between his exhausting journeys. Before I reveal the most outrageous example in this list, I'd like to remind you to subscribe. We upload amazing fact-filled videos every day, so don't miss out on learning some amazing new information. Also, hit that bell icon for notifications on more amazing fact-filled videos. Number 1. Rural Remote China. China hosts some of the most remote, self-sufficient villages and communities in the world. Their infrastructure, whether it's schools, shops, or other amenities, are scattered throughout vast areas, and traveling to and from various areas of the village is often a challenge. Nothing can quite prepare you for some of these truly awesome journeys, though they're barely comprehensible. How about a 120 kilometers trek over 2 days to get to school for the term? This is reality for children in PLI Village in northwest China. One thing these children are guaranteed to be is fit. They won't need many physical education classes after this journey, which involves military personnel guiding them over fast, flowing waters, cliff faces, and steep winding paths with rickety bridges and sheer drops. The journey takes 2 days, and images proves its insanely perilous qualities, and there are no less than 80 kids. A small army of small children traveling over brutal terrain is no laughing matter. There are other autonomous villages in China, which endure similar journeys to school pupils in PTA village, positioned some 2,500 feet up a cliffside, have to suffer a 2-hour near vertical climb to their school every 2 weeks. The original vine ladders, which helped children with this, have now been replaced with metal staircases. Which commute did you think was the craziest? Have you got an equally grueling journey to work? Let me know in the comments down below. Thanks for watching.